Man, it connects fast lately. I love it. We are live.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. It's another Tuesday on Tipsy and Witchy.
Another Tuesday on Tipsy and Witchy. That is correct. Make sure I get everything set up here.
Tipsy, Witchy, and the old guy.
Yeah. Nah. So, Eric, if you had to consider yourself tipsy or witchy, which one would you go with?
Oh, tipsy.
Yeah.
I like my bourbon too much to not be tipsy. Although I'm not. I'm,
Disclaimer.
Moderation.
Oh, shit. I love it. Oh, goodness. All right. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Well, I guess we can just go ahead and get started. So welcome to another episode of Tipsy and Witchy. As you can see, we have our dear friend Eric Webster back with us. We had such a good time with him the last show that we decided to bring him back and bug him some more. So welcome back.
I love it. Glad to be here.
Excellent. And Mom should hopefully get here eventually, but it's all right. It's been an interesting day for everybody, I think. Poor Conrad had to go back to the ER.
Yay me. Yeah. But I'm okay, so that's a
He is
plus.
Okay. He bled all over the ER, but he is okay.
Yes, this time I'm okay. We just thought there was going to be another episode of last time, but
yeah,
it was weird that it happened on a Tuesday again too.
Oh yeah, you're right. That did happen on a Tuesday last time.
Yeah, it was because I couldn't come on the show. I was like leaving for the ER at that time.
What is it with you in Tuesdays? Do you not like Tuesday, or?
I think it's because I started working Mondays when I moved down here.
Oh, maybe.
Unkiltered my universe.
But since you shared it with us, but tell everyone how you decided to bleed all over the ER.
Well, the guy was put in my IV because he wanted to draw some blood. Plus, I had to get a CT scan on my chest, and he had it pinched, and he had the wrap on my arm, or the rubber stretchy thing, and it's still as soon as he took that out, my blood just went. Phew. It's the first time it's ever happened to me too.
That's crazy.
I took pictures because I thought it was funny.
Oh my god, you would. You morbid little bastard.
And I think he was very frustrated because of the fact that he just had to clean up a bunch of blood.
I'm pretty sure it's in his job description.
Yeah.
He made you bleed. It's only fair you should have to clean it up.
Right.
Agreed.
You were the victim. You were the victim of a stabbing.
Right. My body said, this is for stabbing me.
There you go.
Oh, shit. I love it. So, Eric, last time we talked about hypnotism mainly, but I thought we could talk about Akashic Records and how it exactly works and what the process is. What do you think about that?
I love it. It's one of the big parts of my practice and a significant part of my road show. When I go on the road and do fairs and events and things, that's primarily what I do. So the Akashic Record is the composite history of your soul. So that's all lifetimes, past, present, and future. But I always do a little disclaimer with future because I believe, and I could be full of crap, that is always a possibility, but I believe that when anybody does a reading about the future, there's an assumption there that this is the direction you're going. And if you keep going the way you're headed, this is what you're going to see, experience, and that's where you'll end up. But we always have the right to turn the wheel. So if you turn the wheel, then you're going to see something else. You're going to end up someplace else. So, but the Akashic Record, the fun thing for me, and it really is all about entertaining me. So, and I'm not shy about that. I never know who or what's going to show up. And so there are times, and it seems like more and more, where there's mediumship involved, where the person I'm reading, their soul from another lifetime will walk in and say, could I be heard, please? And they'll have some background information about whatever the situation is that we're talking about. And then, of course, more and more people are saying, so do I have like guides and spirits and dead family members around me? And if they specifically ask, then I'll tune into that. And generally speaking, we'll get the presence, and we'll be able to describe the energy of grandma or grandpa, or feels like an aunt, but I'm not sure, who's got something that they want to say. And it's just, for me, the beauty part, the reason I love that so much is that oftentimes the record keepers who I talk with are providing confirmation of what the person already thinks, believes, or knows. And I laugh and I say, yeah, sometimes it's important to have a complete stranger confirm, because the stranger has more credibility with us than we have with ourselves. And that's so accurate that, and I'm guilty as charged. But it's a fun, why am I like this? What happened in a prior life that maybe made me the way I am? Were my wife and I together in another lifetime? What about my kids? So the possibilities are pretty endless. So does that make sense?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay. And then I teach it too. And interesting, I think, is that I've had a fair number of people that have gone through the classes and afterward realized that they were already channeling, probably out of the Akashic record, but they didn't know it. And doing the format and the structure of getting into the record provided them with a bit more context, maybe some bumpers, like when you go bowling and you put the bumpers in the gutter.
Yeah.
And it just makes it a little bit easier for them to come to believe the reality of what they're accessing into.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. So when you do an Akashic record reading, how does that work? How do you access these Akashic records?
Good question. I was taught, and I still do it this way every single time, that there's a prayer that I read 3 times. And the first time it's out loud, so the client will hear that. Second and third time are silently. I've not encountered anybody yet that hears the silently ones, but I won't be terribly surprised if one day, I heard that, and that'll be another interesting conversation. Every single time as I'm reading the prayer, they give me my starting point. It'll either be a physical sensation, it'll be an image, it'll be a song. And I've been doing it long enough that sometimes they'll just give me a little tweak of something and I'll go, oh, there's that. Okay, I know what that means. And that's where I then begin the information with the client, but then throw it back to them in case they have any questions or concerns about any lifetime that they want to take a look at. The big 3, romance, of course, career, and life purpose. Are, they're certainly not the only things we talk about, but those are 3 pretty common threads. So
and I have had a reading by Eric before.
Oh, that's right. That one show in the North Country someplace.
Yes, hopefully.
No, Elks or VFW or
Elks.
Yeah, that was a fun one, I think.
Yes.
Do you want to?
Everything was so just on point, and I felt it was probably the most polite that I've been called out in a reading.
Did you deserve it? Did you deserve to be called out politely?
Yeah. Okay. I usually do.
Okay.
I mean, that's what they're there for.
Yep.
And if I remember correctly, Conrad, at that point, we had only just barely met each other.
I think probably once before that.
Yeah. And so it was kind of fun to connect that way. I mean, there was absolutely no way that I would have been able to pull from my personal memory banks anything that, because I didn't have any memory bank around
Right.
who you are, what
No
you're doing.
influence.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was all just so accurate. It was pretty bone chilling, actually. How accurate it was.
Okay. Yeah. And one of my rules, or one of my agreements with the record keepers, is I never want to do illness, disease, or death. And I just don't want to be that guy. I will get energy though. So, I mean, I it's interesting. I'll be reading the prayer and I'll be rubbing my right shoulder. Well, I don't have anything wrong with my right shoulder. But I get all done with the prayer and I'll say, what's going on with your shoulder? And the eyes get big. Well, I'm having surgery next week. So, you do get the energetic hits of when energy isn't flowing as it ideally would be.
Yeah.
So
I just find the whole thing fascinating, because like when I do readings, sometimes people will come through. Last time I did readings was in Grayling for the Veterans Fair, and I actually picked up on somebody's dog, which never happens. I'm like, hey, Conrad would be so proud. But when I'm doing that, it's weird, because like I see them but I don't. It's more like feelings, like what kind of emotions they're portraying. So is it similar when they're talking to you or communicating with you?
yeah, I do not see them and I do not audibly hear them. So I guess I've landed on the idea that the information is channeled information from the Akashic record. So they give me soundtracks, and I don't know if I actually hear that music or if I just feel it there too.
Right.
But those, I love music, so that's kind of fun when they bring in a piece of music that is germane to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So one of the big ones that comes up is Kelly Clarkson, "What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger," which is not a song I'm a big fan of, but it certainly has a powerful message embedded in it.
Yeah.
So
I can agree with that. Yeah. I don't really, but it's the message that counts. It's fine.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, well, Conrad, you do readings also, right?
Yes, I do.
What? Now, tell me about yours. Your sister already knows, but
so with me, I guess I could relate to like feeling the energy blockings. That's usually where I can pick up on the most with people on what's currently going on with them. Now, when it comes to communicating with past loved ones or pets, even, I don't see full beings. I don't see who I'm talking to. I see an energy form.
Yeah.
And I mean, makes sense to me. We don't take this physical body with us to the other side.
True.
And that's the other thing, as I start getting the feminine or the masculine, the emotions. Every once in a while, they don't talk, but I somehow just end up getting phrases or words that come in through, just pop in my head, like written out. Yeah. Sometimes it'll like maybe even be probably what was their handwriting, I'm assuming.
That makes sense.
It just kind of like pops up in my mind like a thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what most readings are, is for us anyway, because we're so used to it. It just acts as a thought. You know?
It's like a thought form. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it's almost hard to explain when it happens, because it's like we're telling this person what we see, but it's not, we don't actually see it. It's really strange. Because like what you said, we don't take our physical form with us.
Right.
But at the same time, when they're trying to portray who they are, they're going to show us what their physical form was. So like one of my more recent readings, I'm like, okay, female, very curly hair, horn rimmed glasses. And the person was like, oh my God, that's my grandma. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. And then I'm like, wow, she's a sassy one, isn't she? And they're like, yeah, she was. I'm like, well, she hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And it's just weird because like I'll have things repeat in my head, like get your shit together. That's one of my favorites when they're very sassy and they just let it all hang out. I'm like, this is what I'm hearing. Okay, I'm just gonna say it like I hear it. But it's like I don't know what they sound like, but yet they're talking to me. It's just the most bizarre thing. Yeah.
And I think you bring up a really good point about disclaimering. Again, and I'm sure you're both that way as well. You don't spin it, you don't edit it,
Right.
you don't change it. You will disclaimer it. I often will say, okay, I want to remind you that this is not me because I don't talk this way. Yet I do. But sometimes they take me places that for a 71-year-old man, almost 71, makes me uncomfortable. And I'll say, okay, we're going into some area that they're insisting that we go, but please remember it's them, and I'm not being a creepy old guy. Because some of it is incredibly personal.
I've had that happen.
Yeah.
As a man talking to a woman.
Yep.
And okay, I have to talk about this, and I'm really sorry.
But sometimes that's the most important piece of information that gets delivered.
Yeah. So
a lot of confirmation, a lot of affirmation.
So like, as for both of you as male readers, what are the biggest obstacles that you guys come across? Because I feel like when people picture readers, I feel like it's predominantly women that I see do readings. So like, what are the challenges that you guys tend to face?
I would say that not wanting to feel like I'm being a creeper because I'm about to bring up something that has happened to you, in the past or might be currently dealing with. I think that's my biggest one.
And I don't know, but would your youth make that even a harder thing, do you think?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't feel like it probably does.
Okay, I was just curious. So, I actually find that being a man in that environment can have some real positives because there aren't hardly any men out there doing readings, at least at the events that I'm doing largely. And I think that there's a fair amount of the attendees that it's kind of a novelty to get a reading from a man.
Yeah.
But I also, largely and I try and ask the people why they picked me to come sit with, because, that's a little bit of market research of what is it that caused you to walk up and plunk down your money and come talk to me? And the answer that I love the best, and I get it quite often, is, yeah, well, I just walked around the event a couple of times and I just felt really strongly that you were the person I needed to talk to.
Yep.
Or my second favorite is my friends both came to you and they said, oh my God, you got to go see this guy.
Yeah.
So those are bonus things. I do think that the really highly personal could be misinterpreted as creepy. That stuff still makes me twitch a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of us just being somewhat more self-conscious about when it comes up. And because I don't think I've ever ran into an issue where once I bring it up that they're uncomfortable and
True.
they're actually more than willing to speak to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like as male readers in a predominantly female area,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we get clients, they sit down in front of us for a reason, as men. And I think they just sometimes needed to hear it from that tone of voice.
From like a male
Good point.
perspective.
Yeah, because there's perspectives are different as to how we are walking this earth. So it's like sometimes you need that different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got women like me. When it comes to people that I associate with, I tend to get along better with men because women can be so catty. So it could be something as little as that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that I get the most is from even just females in the everyday life is that the girls that are drawn to be around me, they don't get along with females.
Yeah.
They're like, they're too catty, they're too bitchy. I don't want to be around them. So
yeah,
too competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As a woman, I'm very comfortable with saying women are very fickle creatures.
They can be, yeah. Yeah, and even among the spiritual circles of readers and vendors, there are times I feel like I need to watch my back.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because at the end of the day, we're just people. So like it's no different than when like how the drama in the paranormal field is so hot right now. And everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe this is affecting the paranormal, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, how do you not believe it? It's people.
Yeah, we're all humans.
People run on drama. It doesn't matter what category it's in. And it's no different for fairs and readers because it's people. There's always got to be drama.
Always.
And it's but it can be so disheartening because like, I know, especially within our circle, like that's our people. Right. And it feels wrong when drama is brought into that, so it can be a bit of a bummer. Yeah.
But anytime you get people and money,
Yep.
And a little competition going, whether you want it or not, then the knives can come out. Part of my process for getting ready for an event, of course, I set up my table, create my altar of various crystals and crosses and whatever I've got with me, and activate Reiki because I want everybody that sits with me just get a little free for nothing healing. More often than not, I'll ask that the entire room be filled with wonderful healing, loving energy. And then I call on Archangel Michael and I say, hey, Mikey, would you put a bubble of protection around me? And would you also enclose my space in a bubble of protection so that nothing that is not mine is going to stick to me?
Yep.
And then I go a step further based on some past experiences. I say, and should anybody aim anything at me with the intention of doing me harm, I'd like you to return to sender at 10 times the force and deliver the message, don't, with Eric Webster.
Correct.
And that pretty much has put a kibosh on that sort of thing. I had a funny thing in Kalamazoo. I did that exact thing and with Archangel Michael. And I do that in my head, right? And the promoter of the event, who's just a marvelous, wonderful woman, walked up and 15, 20 minutes later, and we were talking, and I said, man, good crowd today. Things are going really well. I've been really busy. And she turned around, looked at me, and she got this glint in her eye, and she says, well, you don't with Eric Webster. And how she picked up on that still has me scratching my head, but I've always respected her, but probably even a bit more now.
Yeah. Message well received.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, I tend to do something similar when I set up my space. I get everything ready and set up my little rocks and crystals, and I tend to like to shuffle my cards because I do tarot and oracle. So I'll just kind of sit there and just shuffle and kind of get lost in thought a little bit to clear everything out and get in the zone. Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the shuffling has the obvious purpose of getting your energy, clearing the cards, getting them ready for action. But from a marketing standpoint, that I think that also is a really eye-catching. Okay, this woman means business. She's ready to go, and probably draws some people to your table.
I'd never even thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I just do it because I feel inclined to clear the cards because, like, if there's any energies left from the last time I did readings,
Sure.
I just want to make sure those are out, you know. But I always think it's funny too because, like, every time I do a fair, there seems to be like a shit, I can't think of the word. There's always like a theme for the things that are drawn to me, right? So like at the last fair, everybody wanted to focus on career and love. Like that career and love, every single person. And I kid you not, every single person drew at least one of the same exact cards. And I find that funny because when I have somebody handle the cards, I make them shuffle and then I make them pick the cards and I tell them pick them from anywhere in the deck. So the fact that I shuffle the cards before I hand them over and then they shuffle and they pick the same damn card every time, I'm like, how does that happen?
This means something.
Yeah.
Do you find when there's a theme like that it also is very much a mirror to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get messages in your readings you give to other people for sure.
Yep. And you go, well, crap, that was as much for me as it was for them.
Yes. And it's funny because I had this sweet girl. She was having some relationship issues, and it was something that I could relate to because I had gone through something very similar. And the moment she sat down in front of me, I looked at her. I said, "You're here to talk about a guy, aren't you?" And she's like, "How did you know?" I'm like, "I don't like him." And I'm going to tell you why. So before I even pick cards, I'm like, You already know what you need to do, don't you? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, now let's shuffle. Okay.
Yeah, but see, you gave her confirmation of the right direction that she needed to go.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a shove, but it was certainly a come on, you've got this. You've got this.
Yep.
Yeah. Addition by subtraction.
She was so sweet about it. And she's like, I really needed to hear that because all my friends were like, oh, give him another chance. And I'm like, no. I'm like, the problem is you're way more mature than all of your friends. Like you may be 17, but you think like you're 27, whereas they think like they're 17. I said, so you need an older perspective. And she's like, well, that's why I sat down with you because I felt like
old.
Get it. Yeah. Well, what was funny was she told me she was drawn to me because I was one of the younger ones there. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, cool. I'm like, keep going. Yes, I am young. Mm-hmm. Yep. But it was funny because like I'm like, okay, you sat down in front of me and I can honestly relate to this. So and for me, readings, it's not just about reaching out in the ether and getting those answers. I feel like it's also because, you know, they sense that we've been through something, you know, and they feel like we have more than just that to offer them. And that's what I really like about it, you know.
Totally agree.
If I can pass on that advice, that experience that I've learned to somebody to prevent them from going through the same shit show, I am more than happy to do so.
And so many times it seems like in those kind of situations, the person we're talking to has a lifetime of people who have belittled them, have taught them that they're not enough, they're not good enough, they're not smart enough, nothing they do will ever be right. If they're not perfect, they'll never find somebody that loves them. And if they're not feeling loved, they should go look in the mirror to see how badly they suck at life.
Right.
And that is just all such bullshit. And so for them to hear that and recognize, oh my God, that's exactly where I've been. And then to help them reset that to, wait, I am good enough. Kind of a mindset. That's probably watching the light go on in people's eyes. What a wonderful payback that is for what we do.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
And I think my favorites too are the ones that sit down and I can see the doubt. Like they're there because they were dragged along. They were the driver and so sit down and they don't even realize they're actually more open to it. They just want to put on that face. And I'm like, all right.
This is going to be fun. I like those ones that are like that. And then you just you basically read them like a book and they're just dropped by the end of it.
Blow their doors completely off the hinges.
And then there's the ones that are just, the whole time, no matter what you do, they just stay closed off.
Yes, those ones are there's only been 2 times in the, how old am I? 17 years that I've been reading that I've looked at somebody and said, I can't read you. You're too close. You don't want this. So I'm not going to give it to you. I'm sorry. 2 times. And that's it. But it's I'm never going to lie to somebody. I'm not going to make shit up just to give them a reading because that's not the kind of person I am.
And I think that there are dire consequences for readers that pull it out of their ear or their ass and make up stuff. I don't think that Spirit thinks that's funny or cute at all. So
no.
I've had a few people over the years that I just got deadpan nothing.
Yeah.
And at the end I said, I always ask, or I always make the statement, I hope it was of some value. And I had a couple of people that shook their head no. And I collect at the end. And I joke and I say, that way if I suck, I don't have to do refunds. But there was one, I was at an event and the promoter collected and scheduled. So I walked the lady back up to the table and I said, I'd like her to have a full refund. Now, I know for a fact that the information I gave her was on point and accurate and right between the eyes. But I don't think that she was at all ready or able to hear any of it. And so it was easier for her to stone face it. And no, that doesn't make any sense at all. And I'd rather have them walk away smiling that they got their money and maybe thinking that they pulled one over on me than have them irritated and bad mouthing me. So
right. Yeah. The people that do that, it can be so frustrating because you can't beat a dead horse. If somebody I've had one person in particular where I've read them several times and each time they question everything I tell them. And because I know them so well, I'm like, listen, you need to figure this out because I'm not wrong and you're choosing not to listen to me. Maybe you would learn if you did for once. And they're just like,
yeah. And I have drawn a line around me of people that are close to me that I won't read for. For that same reason, even though what I'm giving, what I'm delivering is 100% coming through me, not from me. Some of them have a problem getting out of the way and recognizing that I have no agenda. I'm not trying to control anything, change anything. And if they can't accept it on that basis, then I'm not going to waste my breath.
Right. And I think that might be part of the issue too, because they know you so well. It not only can the reader be a bit biased if they're not careful, but they can be biased toward you.
Right.
And think that there's ulterior motives or something.
Yeah.
So it can be really frustrating. I don't typically read for people that I know. And like if friends come see me at fairs and they're like, give me a reading. And I'm like, no, like go see them and they'll take care of you.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
For those reasons, plus people that I'm like super close to, I don't need to be seeing things that I don't want to forget.
Right.
Like,
good, good idea. Good call.
Things that may or may not happen to them in the future. Traumatic accidents, things like that. Like,
right.
I don't want to see that. I don't need to see my best friend getting in a car accident or something.
Oh, hell no.
That equivalency.
Yeah.
It's like, think about them trying to prevent it for the rest of their lives. If they heard about it, it's like you see it as someone that loves and cares about them. You're not going to unsee that. You're going to always think about it.
Yeah,
and with two people thinking about it all the time, that certainly puts a magnet on it.
Right? Let's just create it.
Yeah.
Let's not. I mean, and I've met a few people who have actually stopped reading because of that, because they saw something that happened and it just traumatized them completely. So it's like, I don't want that.
And I definitely have seen some things, and not even just in readings. That's just everyday interactions at work, with working with the public. You know, I'll be distracted and don't have my guards up or my walls up, and the doors are just flapping in the wind and letting things in, letting those flies in, and literally flies, because it's never usually anything good when that happens either.
Right.
It's something like super traumatic that happened in their past. So.
And it's crazy because like the older I get, I'm still learning. Like every single day I still pick up on stuff that I've never picked up on before, and my skills and my whatever you call it just keeps evolving. And I notice if I'm like tired and not really paying attention, I'll start picking up on things in the area, and I'm like, oh, okay, we need to stop.
Yeah.
So like, for example, there's mornings I wake up and I'm like, why do I feel like a house fire? And then there's a freaking house fire just down the road from me. And I'm like, okay, stop. I don't want it. But it just like, it blows my mind still. I've been in this for so long and things still blow my mind.
I love it when it blows my mind still. Yeah. Like the fact that it can blow my mind every day still is, it makes it so much just more of a thing.
Right.
And how fun is it when somebody sits down with you, and when they're done and they walk away, you're thinking, oh my God, I am so blessed that I got to sit and talk with this unbelievable human being.
Yes.
I had a guy, I don't know where we were. I have trouble keeping track. Someplace, I was at an event someplace in the last year, and I had a young guy come in and sit down, and as he was walking up, I knew he'd been a monk in another lifetime. And so I kind of cued in on that a little bit. And what I got for him was that, yes, he had in fact been a monk, and that one of his mentors had been St. Francis of Assisi, and who's one of my favorites. And I even wore my hair like him until the top blew out. But what they told me was that this guy that I was sitting with actually wrote more of the St. Francis of Assisi prayer than St. Francis did.
Oh, wow.
But they agreed that St. Francis's, and this seems kind of funny for biblical times, but reality is reality. They all agreed that St. Francis's brand would get more notice for that prayer than if they put it out under the name of some unknown monk.
It's been with us for thousands of years, that kind of shenanigans.
Yeah, well, yeah, apparently, right? So, but the guy, the way he reacted, I really think I just confirmed I don't know that he knew that it was St. Francis, but I confirmed an awful lot of what the guy already knew. And he was one that when he walked away, I just thought, oh my God, he was an associate of St. Francis of Assisi.
I just met a celebrity.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I don't know that I've sat with a celebrity of that kind of status, but I think the things that I feel humbled by are just when I hit something just right for somebody. I think my guiltily my favorite reaction is when they're deadpan and I say one thing and it's just tears.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track. And then they finally just like, oh my God, that's what I've been thinking. I'm like, phew.
Yeah.
That deadpan face, man. Oh,
well, and you give them permission to cry.
Yes.
You give them permission to feel.
Mm-hmm.
You give them permission to be who they came here to be. And I just don't think there are many things better than that.
Right.
So.
And everybody needs validation. I don't care who you are.
Everybody. I do. Absolutely.
You can be the most sound, confident person, but you still need validation. No.
And some of mine came when you guys wanted me to be back on your show. I loved it.
Hell yeah!
I don't suck entirely, so that's kind of my benchmark.
Give yourself some credit.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you a question, Eric. So when it comes to Akashic Records, are you ever able to mix hypnotism with it?
Oh yeah.
How does that work?
Not at a show because it's not quiet enough. But when I do past life regression, number one, when I'm doing hypnosis, my record is open. Okay, my Eric Webster hypnotherapist record is open because every person, every entity has its own record.
Yeah.
And so invariably during that session, at some point, I'll look up at the ceiling and I'll think, ooh, good one. The concept of where the words came from would be something that I would have been aiming at, but the actual words and phrasing would have been so much better, more powerful, more laser focused probably than I would have come up with on my own. So that's a part of it all the time. But when I do past life regression, two ways, and sometimes it's within one session, we do both of them. One of them is we go to the library and we go to their alcove where their volumes are housed, and a record keeper will pull a volume off the shelf and open it up. And more clients have said, oh my God, the words, the phrases, the paragraphs are just jumping off the page.
Yeah.
And so that's a real common methodology I use with past life regression. The other, though, is to actually run the calendar backwards and have them tell me when to stop. And then we look around and see where we are, who they are. We always go back as a visitor, as an observer. And because I don't ever want to end up taking somebody back. Look who's finally here. Good afternoon. I don't want to take anybody back in their past life and find that their head is in the divot of the guillotine and the blade's about to come down, because that seems like a trauma that nobody should have to endure more than once. So
right.
Yeah.
Mom, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yay.
Oh, good. How are you?
It's been a week already.
Yeah, I feel that.
Feel that.
Yep.
This must be the week. How's Eric?
I'm good. I'm tired, but I'm getting a new root canal and crown this week.
Oh, fun times.
Proof that I should have taken better care of my teeth, probably. So you people watching, brush and floss, damn it.
Unless you have shitty,
Out.
you're probably going to have to go through it anyway.
Yeah,
that's
true story.
I know a couple of people that have had the short end of the stick on the genetics part, and then just for no reason,
yeah.
Thanks,
But
Mom.
but your gifts are so diverse and so powerful that it more than makes up for it.
Is that
It's
it?
okay, sweetheart.
But I'm serious.
I just thought you had boots on.
No. I've always wondered with some of my dental problems if they're made worse by the horrible stuff that comes out of my mouth sometimes.
Hey, never thought of it that way.
Right?
Well, and
How's all the animals?
oh, they're good. They're good. Bernie, our newest arrival, a Bernedoodle that we got at the pound. How do you end up with a tricolor Bernedoodle from a pound? This is like a
I don't know.
$5,000 dog that Beth got for $99.
That's
And
free.
he's going to be 100 something pounds, and he's already the biggest. He's still kind of a baby. He has a very excitable bladder.
Oh,
When he gets excited, he leaves a trail of piss from
bless them.
one end of the house to the
Dog,
other.
too. It's not going to be a small one.
No.
It's gonna be a river.
He absolutely loves his Uncle Dan. And for
Aw.
those that don't know, Dan is our foster son who's been with Beth for, oh Lord, 40 years maybe? He's in his early 50s. But he takes care of all the animals and much of the work around the farm. He really is pretty amazing. And Bernie just adores Uncle Dan.
No.
Oh,
And, I think my wife is a little bit jealous because Clyde is like that with me. And I think she was hoping that Bernie would come in and fall madly in love with her
and be hers.
be her boy. So I hope that doesn't mean she's going to bring somebody else home, because we do have 5 dogs, a cat, and a parrot.
What's another?
Right now.
What's another?
Yeah,
You get past 3, it's barely different.
that's why I'm at my office to do this at 7:00, because there's no place at the house where I can have enough guaranteed quiet that a deer isn't going to walk by and everybody's going to go batshit crazy or nothing
That's
will go
okay
by.
on our show. We don't mind.
Yeah. So we have a lot of turkeys around right now. We have a pair of sandhill cranes that have been coming for, I bet 5-6 years. They show up. We call them Lilith and Fraser. Which one day, a couple of years ago, I have a video probably on Facebook, because my life is on Facebook. They did a mating dance in the backyard.
No kidding.
And it was really quite lovely. I had never seen that before.
Your Fraser and Lilith could go with my Niles, Daphne, and Roz turkeys.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There you go. Yeah. And I didn't know the turkeys flew.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can get some distance too.
It's hard to imagine those wide, heavy bodies getting off the ground. I mean, I have a wide, heavy body, and I would never be able to get off the ground.
Right? It gives you hope.
Yeah. I think my arms are too skinny. Oh, they're good. They're such beautiful, loving, well, you all have animals. Clyde, I used to think Clyde came to get loving when he needed it. Clyde comes to snuggle when Daddy needs to be snuggled.
Oh.
And he'll lay across my lap, and after about a second, he just lets out this big sigh. He just like that. And then a couple minutes later, he's rumble snoring. And I just know that he feels so incredibly safe and loved. And I'm working, look at that pretty face. I'm working on allowing animal communication to be one of my new add-ons to the roster.
That would be awesome.
That's awesome.
And I know, go ahead.
No, I was yelling at you too.
What a cute baby that is. Is that your new one?
He is my newest one, and he is the cuddliest dog I've ever had.
Because he's the biggest troublemaker you've ever had.
Yes, he is.
This is middle name Satan then.
Yes.
Yeah, our Theo's middle name is Satan. So.
Oh my God, maybe it's Shikumi reincarnated.
It could be.
Yeah, he's so adorable though. You can't stay mad at him.
No, not really.
So, yeah. Yeah.
I got a confirmation this week that one of my cats was reincarnated from a cat that was my roommate's in Grand Rapids.
Oh,
Yeah?
When I first moved there, he attached himself to me. And he kind of became my cat. Not my cat, but my cat kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then he ended up getting kidney issues and having to put down. But yeah, I just got confirmation on that this week, and I cried like a baby.
How did confirmation come to you?
So what happened in the moment was I was like walking up to the bed where he was laying, and he kind of sat up and he like reached up for me because he's like a little kid when he does this. It's cute. And then I picked him up and held him, and I was like, God, that he did, like, the way he loves me, it just reminds me so much of Mr. Jingles. And like that big booming voice came in, and it's because it is. And I was like, oh, and I started crying.
That's precious.
I love it.
No better confirmation than that.
It explains why he just randomly showed up in the yard, and when I went out there and he seen me, he was excited to see me.
Oh, like, it's you again.
Yeah.
Yep. I believe
that soul recognized yours.
Yeah, and they do. I believe that Clyde and I were brothers in another lifetime.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Why do you think that, Eric?
That's just one of those senses that I've had about him.
Okay.
He knows me so well. Beth picked him out on Craigslist and brought him home. I didn't even know we were getting a dog. Brought him home. I was not happy about the process, but boy, I looked at his little face, and I mean, I was just in love in a minute. And then the next day, as I was leaving for work, I patted him on the head, and jokingly, I said, "Okay, Clyde, you be a good boy." And I don't even remember what name he had at that point, but it wasn't Clyde. And Beth looked at me, and she said, "What did you call him?" And I said, "Clyde." She said, "I like that better than what we've been calling him. Let's have him be Clyde." And I said, "Okay, if he's going to be Clyde, his middle name's going to be Dale. Look at those feet. He's going to be a damn horse because he Great Pyrenees and Lab. He's a pretty good boy.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I tell him every night, though, I say, you know, honey, you're one of the finest humans I've ever known.
Oh.
And I do, and I mean that. For me, all of them. 2-legged, 4-legged, crawl on their belly on the ground, wings, it doesn't matter. They're humans, they're beings.
That's right, they're beings.
Yeah.
They feel like the rest of us do.
Yes,
well, that's the one thing that drives me absolutely batshit is when people say that animals don't have souls.
I would see them if they didn't. Okay.
Right. Like, it's a living creature. What do you mean it doesn't have a soul? How does that even make sense? What?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Well, self-diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A lot of being raised to think that way happens.
Yeah, that's true. No value, not important, disposable.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we're not like that.
That's why I had to get out of the factory farm industry because of how disposable a living animal is.
Yep.
There is a chicken farm, big chicken farm near us along I-96.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard this week that they had to put down 12 million
Yep.
chickens
I just heard.
with this bird flu.
Yep, they got bird flu.
Holy cow.
I just heard about this too.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was like a mountain, and they had like a front end loader, and doesn't matter. They're dealing with them, and it's pretty gross, but that's what they had to do.
That can be bad. I mean,
Yeah.
God, Eric, do you remember when PBB went through northern
Oh, yeah.
Michigan?
I lived in St. Louis, Michigan at about the time that was all
Did you?
happening. Yeah. Michigan Chemical, right on the Pine River in St. Louis, Michigan.
Yeah, that's where one of the big pits are.
Yeah.
Wait, so
That would have
remind
been,
It was leaking a few years ago, and they had to go make repairs to it.
back in what, the early to mid 70s.
Yep.
And that land is still, last time I was by there, it's been a while, but I don't think they've ever been able to do anything with it.
Wow.
They can't.
Yep.
They
So
dug the pits to dump the
remind
cattle
us
into it.
then what this is.
Now, what is PBB? Because him and I are clueless.
We were around then.
It's a
No, you weren't around then.
carcinogenic forever chemical, kind of like PFAS.
Okay.
Oh.
Got into,
Wasn't that like a fire retardant?
yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, and it got mixed into the grain.
And so
Oh, yeah.
all kinds of livestock.
Thanks
had
to
be
Farm
put
Bureau.
down.
Happen? Like how does that happen?
An accident was made, and it just got carried forward.
Yeah, they didn't stop it from continuing.
They didn't stop it, but the way they handled it, it was awful. A lot of farmers lost their farms because they didn't have cows. They
Yeah.
weren't getting reimbursed. At one point, some farmers loaded up the dead cows and went and threw them on Lansing steps to protest.
Good for them.
Well, and so
That's what I
often
said.
doesn't that just come down to unmitigated greed? The company knew, they must have known, chose not to do anything to try, like the Ford Pinto. You know, they did the calculation and said, well, it'll be cheaper for us to pay everybody that dies in one of our Pintos, however much. It'll cost us 10 times that much if we call them back and fix them. So, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys need to look it up. At first it was covered up, everything for years, and now slowly there's more knowledge about it. But most of the farmers died from prostate cancer, farmers' wives, breast cancer.
Wow.
But the kids that lived on the farms, a lot of them still get checked.
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis area where Eric was living, I heard at one point that not only was land bought, there's been college paid for some kids.
Well, that should have been.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my husband was one of them that had to go up there to look at the pits when they started leaking, and he's like, I wouldn't live there. Of course, we wouldn't live in Midland either.
No.
Good to know.
Well, and in more recent times, look at the Flint water situation.
Yeah.
Oh, good God, yes. Eric, don't get me started.
No, I know. we're getting off track for Tipsy and Witchy.
Yeah, don't get me started, because that's another one that water was polluted before all that shit went down.
Oh, 100%.
They didn't call the right company.
100%. Like that, there's a reason why they were using Detroit water, because they knew the Flint water system wasn't updated.
Yeah, of course it was, because GM dumped shit in there for 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Huh.
Mhm.
Wow.
There you go. It's crazy. People are crazy.
Yeah. Well, last one, Roundup.
Oh my God, yeah.
He started on that.
Much of the world has banned it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not us, but we have Monsanto executives on the EPA.
Yeah, we do. Just no winning. No winning.
And they've been there for decades. So, through a variety of different administrations. Doesn't matter.
You know, and all these people that are getting cancer and shit, and it's like, throw away the Roundup, dude.
Yeah.
You don't need it in the plant. It needs to be there.
Well, and we have a big sprayer, and we mix up vinegar with Dawn dish liquid and table salt.
Yep.
And it works fast, easy, not toxic.
It works fine.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not as much profit in that though, is there? I mean, Roundup.
It's all about money.
They've set aside like multiple billions of dollars for settlements in the U.S.
Which is crazy. They have that set aside already.
Yeah.
Right, because they know it's coming, and they're like, "Oh, we'll just pay it off and sweep it under the rug." Like, you bastards.
Yep. So everybody can get their $12.99 payout.
Yeah.
Something else.
Well, the good news, I hope, is that more and more people are tuning in and waking up and speaking up. I think that part of the reason that we've gotten across the board where we've gotten is reasonable people on both sides of any issue.
Yeah.
Have thought, well, I don't want to make a fuss. It'll all be fine. It'll all be fine. And so now we're at a point where more and more reasonable people are saying, well, wait just a damn minute.
Mm-hmm.
And it cuts both ways, lest anybody think I'm being partisan here, because I'm certainly not. Turns out there are enough assholes to go around. So
Got that right.
Everybody has one.
We all have one.
Yeah, pretty much. So does anybody watch this live while we're doing it?
Well, right now we have 4 very faithful watchers.
Okay.
So thank you to those who are watching. We do really, really appreciate you. And if anybody watches this after,
depending on what they watch, what I don't know, what do you call it, Chelsea? Depending where they're watching it from, some of them we don't see.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
But for those of you that watch this after the show ends, we still thank you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You are.
I'm sorry I was late.
I'm going to start calling this Tipsy and Late Witchy.
Yeah, but that makes it sound like she passed away, and we don't want that.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't want that.
The Tipsy and Delayed Witchy.
There you go.
Delayed Witchy. There you go.
Okay. Okay. What can I call it? But that's it. That's all, folks. We killed it. Before we sign off for the night, any upcoming events that we should share?
ParasiteCon?
Good one.
Go ahead. I don't know the dates.
May 18th, right?
17th, 18th, and 19th.
Yep.
At Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio.
I'm so excited.
Tipsy and Witchy will be there doing readings and selling wares.
Yes, we will.
Very cool. That same weekend, I will be at Camp Chesterfield in Indiana.
Nice.
Doing readings.
Awesome.
And this Sunday on Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day, Donna, even though you're not my mother.
Oh, thank you.
I'm the there's a little spiritualist church here in Grand Rapids, and they 3 or 4 times a year they invite me to come in and deliver the sermon.
Wonderful.
So I'll be doing that on Sunday, and they do broadcast that live on Zoom.
Do they?
Okay.
Yeah. So
you have to give me the name of the church. Maybe I can find it.
Spiritualist Church of Truth, Grand Rapids.
Okay.
And they have a Facebook page. So
okay.
I'm guessing that if you go there, there'll be a link.
Oh,
and
sure.
And then they do post the recordings usually after the fact.
Oh, wonderful. So, sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Eric, thank you so much for coming back on the show. We always love having you.
We do.
love being here. It's a ball. So thank you for doing the show.
You're welcome.
We like it.
that is all, folks. So we will catch you next week for another great episode. Do we know what's happening next week? I never remember.
I'm not talking to you two anymore about that.
Oh, we have a guest.
It's Chris. We have Chris coming
Chris.
back.
It was driving me nuts. I could see her face and everything.
Yep, we'll have Chris coming back next week. So make sure you tune in, and of course subscribe and hit the notification bell for Tipsy and Witchy on YouTube. Also, make sure you go support Eric on his platforms and check out what he's got, Akashi Records and Hypnotism. And of course, Mr. Conrad has his sites. What are you going under now? I can't remember.
On Facebook.
Thank you. So, everybody, enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and we'll catch you next time. So stay spooky.
We love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.